Hey, perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today for our presentation on caregiver stress, finding balance. My name is Erin, and I work with the Ascension Employee Assistance Program. If you are not familiar with your EAP benefit, your EAP benefit is a great benefit that's available to you as an employee of the company that you work for. We provide short-term, solution-focused, confidential counseling that's available to you free of cost. And so we work with people on a variety of different concerns regarding relationships, anxiety, grief, depression, parenting concerns, caregiving stress. The list goes on and on. Substance use, stress management, relationships, work-related stress, work-related conflict. So we are a great benefit that's available. We are able to meet with people in person, depending on where you're located. Over the computer, we do virtual sessions, and we can also talk with people over the phone. So there are a variety of different ways to connect with the EAP benefit. I'll have some information on the last slide, more information on how to reach out and connect with us if that's something you're interested in learning more about. But today we are here to discuss caregiver stress and finding balance if you are a family caregiver. We love offering these lunch and learn sessions, but one of the things that we miss when we're not in person is the interactive nature of just being able to raise your hand and ask a question. So definitely please feel free to use the chat for that. I will go ahead and do my best to monitor both the chat and provide the information here today. But if there's something that I'm missing, please don't hesitate to unmute and let me know if there's a good question in there that we should be addressing, but I will keep my eye on that as well. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so in the United States, 1 in 5 adults are caregivers, meaning they are providing unpaid care to children, adult family members with disabilities or other chronic health conditions. A majority of the family caregivers are employed while they are providing that caregiving support, and they report that their caregiving responsibilities have a significant impact on work performance and stress levels. So today we are going to explore some strategies to help manage stress and find balance when we're taking care of another person. That's what today is all about. So sometimes when we think of caregivers, we think of people who are trained to do that. So we think of people maybe like CNAs or nurses or other people with formal training to provide care to another person. But the truth is, there are family caregivers, people who are untrained, often unpaid, who are providing care to a spouse, a parent, a child, maybe an extended family member, a friend, or a neighbor. And we often don't think of ourselves as caregivers, but we are. This is an important task that we fulfill. And so if you're unsure if you're a family caregiver, I just want to kind of identify who these people are. So you would be a family caregiver if you are providing someone, another person, with help doing any kind of shopping, grocery shopping, anything for the house, any supplies, any personal care items that are needed. If you're helping someone with housework, like cleaning and dusting, vacuuming, laundry, things like that, or maybe outside tasks like mowing, raking leaves, pruning bushes, you're a caregiver. If you're helping someone manage their finances, if you are providing transportation to and from appointments, the store, or other activities, if you are purchasing or organizing medications for someone, if you're helping someone with personal care activities like bathing, dressing, or hygiene tasks, if you're providing skilled care to someone, maybe you're helping them transfer, you're doing some kind of injection for them, or you're managing a catheter. Maybe you're helping them manage medical conditions. You could be communicating with healthcare professionals, or you could be advocating for someone on their behalf. If you are doing even one of those tasks for another person, you are a family caregiver, and this session is for you. So we are glad you're here. Today, we are going to explore stressors related to caring for another person. We're going to talk about strategies to help family caregivers find balance. And we're going to talk for a little bit about the emotional toll of being a family caregiver because that can really impact our ability to find balance and manage stress. So, we're going to talk about that for a little bit too. So let's just dive right in with stress and start with some statistics here. Um, According to AARP, approximately 21% of adults in the US have provided care to another person in the last year. That is a staggering number if you think about it. 21% of adults in the US. And that's really important because when we are filling this caregiving role, it can feel really, really isolating because we're so busy. We don't have time to connect with a lot of people. We just feel like we're going this alone, and we're not. There are a lot of other family caregivers out there that are navigating similar journeys to what you might be. So, on average, caregivers spend 24 hours a week providing that care with a percentage of those people, 23% of them providing over 41 hours of care a week. So that caregiving that they're doing equates to a full-time job for some of these caregivers. 1 in 6 full-time and part-time workers report assisting someone with caregiving tasks, with 22% of those being workers in the middle age, like being middle-aged. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. Women disproportionately take on caregiving roles for a variety of different reasons. And many caregivers experience a financial burden in addition to a time and a stress burden. Many caregivers are needing to use their own income to pay for caregiving expenses. But I think the most important thing that with that last one, 54% of caregivers report feeling very or extremely stressed. So more than half of our caregivers out there are very or extremely stressed. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So, a major source of stress for some caregivers, right, that the kind of middle-aged group that we were just talking about a minute ago, is when we fall into the sandwich generation. So, caregiving is incredibly challenging, no matter who you are. But if you fall within this sandwich generation, this can be an incredibly stressful time of life. And you are in the sandwich generation if you yourself are working and you are caring for an aging parent, and you are also raising kids. There's a constant balance of needs for yourself, for your kids, for your parents, tasks that need to be done. The list is never ending, and it can just feel incredibly overwhelming. So just want to acknowledge the stress of caregiving for everyone, but especially the sandwich generation as well, when you're being pulled in so many different directions. So let's stop for a minute and think about all of the different roles you have. Now, this is going to be different for everybody that's joining us today. So here are some examples that are on the screen. Some of these might not pertain to you. That's okay. You might have some roles that you feel that aren't listed on the screen. And ironically, when I put this together, the one most obvious role that I omitted was caregiver. So definitely pretend caregivers on there and count that as one for yourself. But think about the other roles that you have in your life. Some people kind of consider these as the different hats that they wear. Are you a spouse to someone? Are you a parent to someone? Are you an adult child to someone? What about an employee? Maybe you are a business owner. Maybe you're a homeowner. Maybe you're a manager, a supervisor at work. Maybe you're a grandparent, right? We fill so many different roles and have so many different places where we want to spend our time and need to spend our time. And sometimes it feels like there's not enough time to do it all without that caregiving responsibility. But then when we add in that caregiving responsibility, we're stretched even further. So just wanted to take a minute to give you the opportunity to think about all the different roles that you fill in your life. I imagine that list can be pretty long. And even if it's not, even if it's just 3 or maybe 4 things, that is still a lot to balance and navigate and work with. So just want to take a minute to have some awareness of all of the different things that you are doing as you navigate your daily life. So let's not focus too much on the colorful picture right now, but I want you to think for a minute about your current level of stress. What is your current level of stress? Okay, would you say that currently your stress level is low? Would you say it's optimal, like it's at a good point? It's not too much, it's not too little? Or would you say that you are in that high stress area where you're just highly stressed and overwhelmed a lot of the time? If you feel comfortable, you could certainly put your answer in the chat. If you don't feel comfortable, you want to keep that to yourself, that is a-okay too. But just want to give people the opportunity to reflect on their current level of stress. So, the reason we're talking about stress is because it's an important part of life. It's something we experience. It's important. It can help us, it can give us motivation. It can help us perform well. But when we have too much stress in our life, that's when things start to become a problem. So, looking at this chart, you'll see under stressed, right? Under stressed is going to be kind of that purple area, right? In this curve. And so we have low stress, and in that, when we're in that place, we can feel bored, unmotivated, inactive, listless, really relaxed because we don't have a lot of stress. We can also feel pretty laid back. But that can also affect our performance. Like when we are in that spot of being under stressed, we might not perform as well at work because we're unmotivated, because we just don't have that desire to get things done. Okay, so that blue and that purple area on the left side are kind of the low stress zones where we have a low stress level. Our performance in some way might be lagging, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's caregiving responsibilities. When we are in that optimal stress zone, this is where it's kind of the perfect zone of stress for us. That kind of green, that kind of yellow zone there. When we're in that place, we have a medium level of stress and we have really high performance because we are creative, we're focused, we're engaged, we're productive, we're motivated. We are just in the zone where we can get things done and we can just keep kicking away. So that is kind of where we want to be, in that kind of green yellow optimal stress zone. But what ends up happening for a lot of family caregivers is we're balancing so much. We start to tip up into the orange and the pink area where our stress level is so high and our performance can start to fall because it's just so hard to meet all of the things that need to be done. And so when we're in the orange and pink zones, we're feeling overwhelmed, we're feeling exhausted, we feel like we're could be like on the verge of a breakdown, and maybe we do hit that point. Burnout, anxiety, and panic are really common when we have a high stress level for a very long period of time. So, looking at what everybody's put in the chat, it looks like we've got a lot of overstressed people. Orange and the pink, I'm seeing that. And definitely, I love that. Yep, comment about right, it changes daily. Every day is different. So our stress level can ebb and flow. And I think that this is really important to just have some awareness of where our stress levels are because that impacts how we're able to be present in our day. Okay. Excellent. Thanks for sharing those comments. Yeah. Yeah. And this, you have the stress of forgetting to do something or feeling like we're forgetting to do something. Yes, I definitely feel that too. When there's so many things, it's hard to keep it all together. So I'm wondering how you cope with the stress of caring for another person. What strategies do you currently use? What works for you? For some people, it might be going for a walk. It might be taking some time for themselves. It might be talking to a friend. What currently helps you when you're feeling stressed? Again, if you feel comfortable, go ahead and pop those ideas in the chat. Sometimes this is a really tough topic when we're talking with family caregivers because there's just not a lot of time. And so it's almost like taking care of ourselves is fitting one more thing in. And that can be really hard to do because we tend to put our needs on the back burner. So, so we sometimes care for everybody else at the expense of our own mental health and wellness. So here's a good example. Putting some time, spending some time in the craft room. I love that. Creating a list of what needs to get done today, prioritizing that is so helpful. Yep. Taking a walk in nature. Love that. Yeah. Talking with someone else, getting a break from your caregiving experience, or even having someone to vent to can be so helpful. So, yeah, if you have something you want to share, go ahead, keep putting those in the chat. It can be helpful for people to see what works for others, and maybe get some ideas. We are, though, going to talk about some strategies to finding balance. So, we're going to want to build on the strategies that you already have and the things that you're already doing to try and find balance. So, that's what we're going to spend some time focused on now. Okay, so the first key strategy we're going to talk about is focuses around self-care and time management. When we're caring for another person, like I said, it is so easy to take our own needs and put them on the back burner so we have some time capacity to meet the needs of everybody else. That works great for the short term, but it is not an effective approach for a long haul situation. So if you're caring for somebody who's got the flu and they're going to be sick for a few weeks, it's okay to put our needs on the back burner for that short period of time. But if we're caring for somebody who has a chronic or long-lasting healthcare condition, that's not going to be an effective approach for taking care of ourselves. So that's why it's really important we find some ways to take our needs off the back burner and bring them forward and address them every once in a while. These don't need to be big, elaborate things like weekends away or spending a day at the spa, although those are great if they can happen, but realistically, many caregivers just don't have the time for self-care activities like that. So it is okay to think smaller, okay? Small self-care activities are most effective for many caregivers. So this is, focusing around or prioritizing your own health and well-being. So these can be things like making sure you're getting to your own doctor's appointments. If you're not healthy and well, you're not going to be able to care for the people around you. This could be making sure you get a healthy meal every once in a while, or you're making sure you're taking healthy snacks to work, getting enough water, reducing fried foods, eating more fruits and vegetables, maybe decreasing processed foods. It doesn't have to be an entire overhaul of everything that you're doing nutrition wise, but where can you fit in some smaller, healthier habits? Making time for exercise. And again, I think when we think of exercise, we might think of hitting the gym for an hour workout or going on a run or something that's going to take a significant amount of time. It's okay to think small with these activities too, okay? This could be a walk around the block. It could be taking a 5-minute stretch break. It could be playing catch with the kids or the grandkids. Those are all things that count as physical movement for our body. And another really important thing to do is sleep. I know sometimes sleep can feel really dispensable. It's a way that we can get some extra time to do things, to be productive. But sleep is one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves, which can have a huge impact not only on our mood, but on our ability to juggle multiple priorities. So sleep is something that's easy to create time for other things, but it's a great way to also make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. So whether that means you have a consistent time that you're going to bed every night, or maybe you're challenging yourself to go to bed 30 minutes earlier, those can all have a big impact on our physical, mental, and emotional health. In addition, it's helpful to have some kind of stress relief techniques, right? We put a few in the chat, but you can always kind of build these up too. So you can use what's currently working and incorporate some others. So activities like deep breathing and meditation can be very helpful. And if this is something that feels awkward or new to you, there are a lot of great apps that can guide you through how to do this. The Calm app is one of them. Insight Timer is another really great app, and Insight Timer is a free app as well. So that's a great one that can just teach teach you some of the basics about deep breathing and meditation if you feel like that's something you'd like to do. It's quick, it's easy. I know before I go to bed at night, I do depending on the day and what's available, I do a 6 to 10 minute meditation through Insight Timer to just help me reduce stress before I go to bed. And that's simple and I enjoy it. Yoga, time for hobbies, even if you need to scale back on the size or the scope of your previous involvement with your hobby, you can take that in bite-sized pieces too. That can be really helpful. And spending time with other people is also really helpful. Um, People who are not related to your caregiving experience to give yourself a break from that. So these can feel difficult to fit in, but the payoff in terms of your mood and your energy and your ability to balance multiple priorities will be significant. Okay. With respect to time management, it can also be helpful to look at some additional strategies to freeing up some time. So, delegating tasks. It can be incredibly difficult to ask for help. I know that. But looking for people who you feel comfortable asking for help. This might be friends, this might be family, it could be a neighbor. You can also look into support that might be available in your local community. Look to those resources that are available around you. Maybe a Meals on Wheels program could help with some meal preparation for the person you're caring for, or maybe someone to assist with cleaning the house, whether that's the house of the person you're caring for, so you don't need to do that. Or maybe it's your house. Maybe someone can come clean your house to free up that time to for you to spend doing other activities. It's important to be creative when you're thinking about delegating tasks, and kind of think outside the box because there can be some really unique opportunities that can be helpful. Setting realistic goals is also really important. Recognizing that perfection is unattainable. I think so often we want to do everything perfectly for the person we care about or the person we're caring for. We love them, we care for them, we want to do good by them. And so we want to do everything as perfectly or as well as we can. But trying to reach perfection will definitely exhaust you. So instead, rather than looking at doing everything perfectly, try to shift that frame of mind to what is good enough to meet the need right now, and just reach for that. If it's good enough, it's going to be enough. Okay, it doesn't need to be perfect. And then practicing self-compassion for yourself, which was just simply being kind to yourself when things don't go as planned, right? You're helping someone else and their actions and their behaviors are completely outside of your control. So remind yourself that you're doing the best you can, balancing all of the different pieces that you are. And then organizing your time. Different approaches are going to work for different people here. But sometimes for some, it's creating to-do lists, keeping track of the tasks and keeping everything straight, maybe prioritizing that list so you get the higher priority items done first. Keeping routines where you can for both you and the person you're caring for, so you know what to expect, you know what comes next, you know the natural flow of the order for things. And then taking advantage of digital tools. There are so many different things out there, apps, task lists, calendars, and other resources that can help you keep things organized and manage all of the different pieces effectively. Seeking support and building a network is also incredibly important. So consider joining a support group. This will provide not only an opportunity to connect with other people for emotional support and advice, but it can also provide information and education for you regarding the chronic health condition of the person you're caring for, which can also be invaluable. There are so many support groups available in person, depending on your location. You might find these at a church, or if you connect with a condition-specific organization like the Alzheimer's Association or the American Cancer Society or the Parkinson's Foundation, they often have support groups available in person or virtually. And there's also NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which offers a variety of support groups. And also consider options too online, virtually and online forums. There are many online forums available where you can connect with people as well. Building that support system is really important. This could be family, this could be friends, this could be a neighbor, it could be coworkers, depending on your unique circumstances. But you might be able to get some support around certain tasks or delegate some tasks to people within your network who are willing to provide that support for you. Again, looking for those community resources if family and friends are limited or if they're not interested in helping, looking for resources in your area that can help with some of the things that need to be done around the house. For instance, we talked about cleaning a couple minutes ago, or maybe even it's providing some respite care, a break for you as the caregiver, someone else who can step in and care for your loved one so you can have a break. And if needed, consider professional help. Managing the ongoing stress of caring for another person can lead to things like anxiety, it can lead to depression, and it can lead to feelings of burnout. So if you're experiencing any of these, or if you're not to that point yet, but you're feeling highly stressed and you've been highly stressed for a long time, then consider connecting with someone who can help. A counselor can listen and help provide tips and strategies for managing those stressors and coping with the challenges of your unique caregiving situation. So, this EAP benefit you have available to you can be a great resource. And then understanding and addressing stress. We can't talk about finding balance without spending some time talking about stress, right? And we've established that being a family caregiver and can involve a significant amount of stress. So to help manage that stress, it's really important to know the signs of stress that you experience. Okay, we can talk generally about signs of stress, but it's really important that you know what your signs of stress are. And again, these are different from one person to another person. So, how do you know when you're stressed? What signals do you receive from your body? For some people, it might be that you feel tension in a certain part of your body. It could be your shoulders, it could be your stomach. Um, some people notice that they get headaches more frequently. Some people become short-tempered and they just have a really short fuse with other people. That's their sign that they're feeling stressed. Or maybe it's kind of a nagging feeling of overwhelm. So it's helpful to know what your unique individual signs and symptoms of stress are so you can start to take action to reduce your stress when you notice those symptoms. Okay. Another thing that can be helpful is to specifically identify what aspects of caregiving are causing the most stress for you right now. Maybe it's a specific task like scheduling appointments, providing medical care, managing incontinence, or making meals, right? What is the task that causes the most stress for you? Um, Maybe it's tension with a family member who doesn't help or who maybe thinks that things should be done a different way. It could be a lack of cooperation from the person that you're caring for. You're trying your best to put all of these good, helpful things in place, but maybe they're refusing. Or maybe it's working with health insurance, right? That can be such a headache. So, what are the things that are the most stressful aspects of caregiving for you? Identifying those can be really helpful. Sometimes just knowing that these are the tasks that cause the most stress can be really helpful. But then also too, that can give us an idea of maybe where we could use some additional help or some additional support, some idea of where we might be able to delegate some tasks or where we could maybe bring in some additional help. Okay. And then it's important to learn healthy coping skills. We put a few of these in the chat a little while ago, but it's important to recognize what is the most helpful thing or what are the most helpful things to help you cope with your stress and then actually do them, right? So you might have a couple go-to strategies, continue doing those, but don't be afraid to add to that list of helpful strategies. So it could be mindfulness or relaxation. It could be getting outside and having a few minutes outside. It could be working in a little exercise, spending time with grandkids, reading, golfing, napping for some people. Some people love being creative, and that just really fills their tank. Their energy tank is having a creative outlet. This list we could go on and on with brainstorming ideas, but again, bite-sized things. If you can't fit a huge 1 hour workout into your schedule, where can you get a few minutes of exercise? If you can't golf 18 holes, maybe you can golf nine, or maybe you can just go practice some putting. It's really important to build up that toolbox of coping skills that you have. And you really want to make sure that you're being cautious too to limit or avoid unhealthy coping strategies, comforting and managing stress with food, alcohol, or drugs. If this is an area where you're struggling, if you have some unhealthy coping skills, EAP is also a great resource to navigate that. Okay, so as you're working to find balance as a family caregiver, right, some things that can be helpful are communicating your needs. It's really important to let other people know what is hard about your caregiving situation, where you might need some help, what unique challenges you're experiencing. No one will know that you're needing help or that things are difficult unless you let them know. So talk with your loved ones, your family members, and other caregivers about what you're experiencing. Make a note of your individual needs and your limitations. Share those with people so they know. It can also help to work on creating some boundaries around your needs and your limitations as well. If you have some boundaries up, then that might encourage, or it may encourage or might get other people to step in and help out a little bit more. Schedule time for yourself can help with finding that balance. Again, this can sound really hard to do, but if you're not intentional about holding time for yourself, it will be easy to fill that time with another task. So, dedicate time to activities that nourish your mind and your body, right? Think of those activities around self-care and stress reduction we've been talking about. And again, it doesn't need to be a big amount of time. Holding a few minutes a day and finding some small pockets of time can really make a big impact. And then remember that your own well-being matters. When we're so caught up in the day-to-day things for all the other people around us and the person we're caring for, we can lose track of the fact that our own well-being matters. So prioritize your own health and happiness right alongside those of all of the other people that you're caring for. And as you're navigating your caregiving journey, it's really important that you be on the lookout for burnout. Caregiver burnout is the state of complete physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion that's caused by the prolonged stress of caring for another person. So, recognizing the signs of caregiving is crucial for caregivers so you can seek help to prevent further deterioration of your well being. And so, some signs of burnout could be fatigue, exhaustion, sleep problems. Maybe you're having a hard time falling asleep. You wake up in the middle of the night, you're sleeping too much. Changes in appetite. Again, maybe you're not eating enough. Maybe you're eating too much. Irritability and impatience with people, the person you're caring for, people at work, people at home. Anxiety or worry that wasn't there before, mood swings, emotional detachment, like you just feel yourself detaching emotionally from the tasks of caregiving, withdrawing socially, at work and at home, increased substance use, feeling overwhelmed. This list can go on and on, but if you notice that you are starting to feel burnt out, it's important that you seek help, whether it is with a counselor or with your primary care provider. It's important that you start talking with someone to get some help and support for yourself. And then those emotional impacts of caregiving, being in tune with these can be really important because they can be kind of an underlying part of our caregiving journey that we often don't get to think much about because we're so busy tending to all of the tasks that need to be done. So, caregiving can be one of the hardest jobs out there. And it can also come with some really challenging emotions. But we get so busy completing the tasks, we don't recognize that we are experiencing grief and loss, maybe around the independence or the abilities of the person we're caring for, or maybe loss that we've lost some flexibility and some ability in our lives to do things that we used to like because now we have these new caregiving responsibilities. Feelings of guilt, right? That we're not doing enough, that we're not doing things right, that that we're not meeting the need of the person that we're caring for. We can also feel resentment, right? We can feel resentful that we have to take on these additional responsibilities and resent the impact that this is having on our lives. We can feel inadequate, right? If we're not doing enough, we're not doing it well enough, overwhelmed from balancing all of the tasks and all of the different aspects of life, among many other difficult emotions. And so this is all happening in the background for us as we're balancing all of these other tasks. And it's important. It's important that we acknowledge these emotions that we're experiencing. So, to cope with the emotional aspects of caregiving, acknowledge those emotions that you're experiencing. And that can just be as simple as naming them, noticing how they're impacting you, right? Saying, oh, I feel kind of sad today, or I'm feeling extra guilty today. I should have gone to see mom, but I couldn't do that. So just kind of name that emotion that you're experiencing. Create an outlet for them. This is going to look different for everybody, but it could be giving yourself time to cry. It could be giving yourself time to sit with those hard feelings. It could be journaling. It could be listening to music, doing some grounding exercises, talking with a friend, but giving yourself an outlet for those emotions. Leaning into your support network is important. Talking with someone you trust. Accepting help and taking a break from your caregiving responsibilities can be very helpful. Practice self-compassion, meet your emotions with kindness, recognize that caregiving is a challenging situation. It is hard to be a family caregiver, and know that it's okay to feel overwhelmed and that you're doing the best that you can. And if those emotions seem really big and really strong, definitely helpful to talk with a counselor about that and explore some of those emotions and find some outlets for them if you're having a hard time finding effective outlets on your own. So, self care is not self-indulgence, it is self preservation. Okay. And that's really important to know as we're navigating this journey of family caregiving. Taking care of yourself will help you be a better caregiver. So, in the last, I don't know, 40 minutes, we've covered a lot of really, really important concepts. The fact that being a caregiver is challenging. If it's challenging for you, you're not alone. So we've talked about that stress, some ways to cope with it, and strategies to create balance when you're caring for another person. So I'm hoping that today, as we're wrapping up, you can reflect back on the information that we've talked about and identify one small action, one small piece of information that you can take with you outside of this lunch and learn today to start bringing some balance back into your life as a family caregiver. So if you would like to share that in the chat, what that might be, you can certainly go ahead and do that. If you would like to keep that to yourself, you can certainly go ahead and do that too. That's not a problem. But I'm hoping today that everybody leaves with one small action that you can work to implement to start bringing balance into your life. So, thank you so much for joining us today. If anyone has any questions, I would love to try and answer those for you. You can put them in the chat, or if you feel comfortable unmuting and asking, you can do that as well. If you need to get going because you have a limited lunch hour, that is not a problem as well. We completely understand. Thank you so much for joining us today, but I'll hang here if anyone has any questions.